Hello, my name is Pedro Del Basto, and I am the professor of the subject Pyrometallurgy. I am here right now to introduce you to our Pyrometallurgy Lab, which serves our students in the undergraduate program of metallurgical engineering. So let's go. Okay, as you can see here, we have some safety features of our lab that I would like to show you. In the beginning, we have the fire extinguisher. Remember, we are working here in this space with high temperature equipment, so it is very important to have some appliances to prevent any fire risk. As you can see, we also have here our first aid kit, which is intended for minor injuries or some scratches that any student or user of the lab could have while working. We also have our safety sheets for the chemical reactives that we use in the lab for some practices in which we need to manage with these chemicals. And also we have our 8 steps biosafety procedures, which all students who enter this space must take into account before starting the practices. We also have the security shower and the eye washer in case that any student or user of the lab could have a problem with his eyes or getting fire in the body to shut down the flames, okay? I will try to show you the main equipment that we have in this lab. Starting with our pulverizer mill. This piece of equipment is used to reduce the size, the particle size of the minerals and iron ore that we use in our experimental practices. We also have a thermal balance for moisture analysis. It's very important before making any work in our lab to calculate the water percentage or humidity that it's contained in the ore. So we use this balance for that procedure. Some other procedures in our lab require a very precise weighting of the samples. So for that, we have this precision balance, which permit us to measure tenths of the milligram of weight in our samples. We also have a station for stoves. Stoves are very important in pyrometallurgical processes because they are the beginning of the process. In these pieces of equipment, we are able to evaporate the water contained in the samples, and after this step, we can pass to some other furnaces with higher temperature for our metallurgical processes. In this corner of the lab, we have a station of muffle furnaces. Muffles are high temperature furnaces that we use in this lab for melting, smelting, and also for oxidation of sulfide ores and reduction of oxide ores. We have several of these muffles. All of them are working right now. Depending upon the usage of the lab, if we have so many students, we can use 4 of them at the same time. As you can see here, we have crucibles, like this graphite crucible, in which we perform our experiments, of course, under safety gear, like the gloves and the high temperature mask. Some thermal procedures, as those related to high temperature reduction of minerals, for example, iron ore or ferronickel ore, is performed in this tube furnace. And this piece of equipment allows us to use some used gases passing through the tube inside the furnace, and we can perform reductions under controlled atmosphere. In the Pyrometallurgy Lab, we also perform some basic chemical analysis of solid fuels, particularly coals and coke for metallurgical purposes. And this is our thermal pump. It's a calorimeter that allows us to measure the calorific power of these solid fuels. In the Pyrometallurgy Lab, sometimes we need to deal with sulfide ore. Sulfides need to be oxidized at high temperature, and such a procedure generates sulfur gases that can be dangerous for the users of the lab. That is why we have this muffle furnace inside the fumes extraction hood. As you can see here, when we are performing experiments like this, we need to turn on the suction of the gases to get rid of these undesirable fumes. Our furnaces in the Pyrometallurgy Lab can work at several different temperature ranges. For example, our tube furnace can work up to 1400 degrees Celsius, whereas our muffles usually work between 500 degrees Celsius and 1200 degrees Celsius. Finally, our stoves can have a working range of temperatures between 80 degrees Celsius and 250 degrees Celsius. And I also would like to highlight in this video that our Pyrometallurgy Lab has also demarcations for safety reasons for each of the places for the students, and we also have a very good lighting system, and also we have plenty of windows to grant a proper ventilation of our spaces.